all the resources are available. As we saw yesterday, the ecosystem process, solar energy flow, it's available, water cycle, rainfall is there, mineral cycle, plants and the trees recycle the nutrients on their own, and community manifests on its own. The biodiversity comes when we allow this ecosystem to be functioning. More and more species will keep coming on the soil. More, it will keep increasing. The what you call the intensity of growth will keep increasing. The more this process continues, more time passes by, it will keep evolving to a newer level. While so any technology we use at all should be to ensure that these four ecosystems are followed. So if at all we decide to use some machinery, it should ensure that these four ecosystems are followed. If we use a machinery to intervene into this ecosystem process, then situation will deteriorate further. So that should be a decision, minimum decision required. So while technology is sometimes important, biodiversity is much more powerful for creating a future we want. Because biodiversity itself is the technology created by the Lord. All the species keep functioning, keep doing their duty for the creation, and this is how the creation moves. Nature is self-organizing and relentless. There are no parts in nature. Thinking in whole is critical to making better decisions. So we are and we have the slide of anthropocentric, which is human doing and human being. Only a conscious human being shall have a skill to manage complexity in our ecosystem. So, as we are hearing, all decisions we make today do not consider the well-being of other species. So we need to change our consciousness when we start thinking, whenever we make a decision, all decisions made simultaneously should consider the well-being of all the other species. So we are just one among the living beings. So this is just a recap. Till the time this comes, we can discuss more of the previous days. Then we discussed about function and utility. So all the resources should be first allowed to be performing their function, and the utility will follow. This is the principle. But if you think that we should first focus on the utility, then the resource become unsustainable. This is what we have seen. Any decision for utility and we yesterday we talked about four ecosystem. Anybody tell about the four ecosystem? And number one, photosynthesis, solar energy flow. Yeah, so these are the four ecosystems, and if they are functioning on any landscape, then this is our duty. This is what we have to orchestrate. This is what we are. This is a farmer's duty to be orchestrating the ecosystem function. If they are functional, things will be manifesting the way it should have been manifesting all these years. The way the forest is running, the way things will keep running. ये तो चल रहा था ये, चलते चलते ही बंद हो गया. Then we yesterday also discussed about the potential that potential of cow's milk. Yes. Oh.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you are on mute.
So through potential of we also understand that that is a real breed regeneration program, because through that the calves which are taking birth becomes more productive and more functional. So it is very important to be following that the calves are allowed their share, and only after they get their share, what is left excess is for us. So this is where how the dairies were started. The main purpose. No. Calf grows in the body weight. How much he drinks, we don't know. But when it stays with the mother, he get that excess, at least 12-hour excess. तो अपने आप ही हो रहा था connect. So when it says minimum 12 hours with the mother, this is what the results were achieved. This is how the researchers have documented reports. And also we did in our farms, many of our farms, we did in ISKCON Kanpur, ISKCON Mayapur, ISKCON Ahmedabad, and everywhere we recorded the same results. When the calves were kept together with the mother, they were growing very well. They were very healthy, no disease, and minimum 1 kg they were growing a day. But how much they were drinking was not measured, because we didn't have any system to do that. But we are weighing them every 2 weeks, every 4 weeks for months, maybe 6 months, 8 months, and they would grow like 250, 300 kgs in almost 8, 9, 10 months. That is 10 times of their birth weight. So, sorry, we have a problem here. The setup, so we will put on hold for a moment for all the online viewers, I'm telling. Okay. So contextual management of cows. This is our today's first session, and we have how we will start the project. That is the second session. Shelter for cows, shelter for all. This is how the next session is titled. So cows should be managed in such a way that they get free access to water, fodder. Mother Nature has designed cows to mobility and companion. Herbivores. They put on mass by consuming plants. Their diets are composed primarily of plant material. So they typically spend more than 1/3 of their time grazing. So out of 24 hours, 8 hours, 1/3 of their time ruminating, cud chewing. So they chew what they have consumed, and slightly less than 1/3 of their time idling, where they are neither grazing nor ruminating. So basically, sorry, screen. Okay. Today our technical support person. So basically, the herbivores work 16 hours a day. Only 8 hours is idling for them. 16 hours they are working. Gut feel and skin coat. So when they are full, on the left side is where we check. So you can see on the right, left picture. When you see a triangle there, that means they are hungry. They are not fully filled. So here you see it's full, shining coat, not hairy coat. So healthy, well-nourished cow. Pasture feeding. Time to release the cows for pasture. Cows are self-feeders. By grazing them, they are working for us through the process impact. So animal impact we will discuss today. But basically, their grazing is working for us. They are feeding themselves, but they are feeding others also. One keeps cows at home to feed even after his mantra path suffers in life. The function of grazing is their utility. If they are not grazing, they can become a liability. So that we know what it means. Cow herself indicates the time for her to go back to a home from her master. As long as the cows like to feed in pastures, they represent community assets. When cow wants to retreat from pastures, they indicate it by many signs. So this I am not covering, but it says that there are 4 stomach. Cows has 4 compartments, and each has a different function for the digestion. And this is best designed to digest the grass that we will cover. So do anybody know how many teeth a cow has on the upper jaw and lower jaw? Yes? Only on the bottom, nothing on the upper, right? Because a person looks beautiful when you don't have teeth on the upper jaw. So Krishna designed it like that. No, there is a reason. So there is a reason why it was done like this. Nothing is without a reason. So Krishna's creation is perfect. So no ruminants have upper front teeth. And why? Because they can only graze. They are not like incisors. They cannot cut things. So we will see a video how they are grazing. So that will make the things more clear. But this is a very important point to know, that even eating grains is difficult for them because they don't have that system to, break down the grains. But it is so very common that we feed grains to the cows. So what do cow needs to survive? So what they need is located on the tip of plant energy. That is why cattle graze the tips. So they will like to graze the tips and keep moving forward, because the nourishment which they need is available in the tip of the plant. They are biologically designed to perform optimally by consuming the upper 1/3 to 1/2 of the grass. This is how they are biologically designed, and so grazing makes it easy to break the first 50% of the grass. For us, with a cutting machine to cut 50% and bring it to the stall is very difficult. because we have no system. It will fall in between. We don't know how to segregate it. Only when they are grazing, they can do that. With machinery, it's not possible. Their movement is restricted in pastures, then they go to the remaining part of the plant. So today we see when the cows are moving on the field, they are eating the entire grass because they don't have enough opportunity to keep moving. So when their movement is restricted, then they go to the remaining part, means below 50%, which they don't want to, but because they are hungry and they don't have access to fresh grass, so they continue doing that. Further on, if there is no access to new tips, they again feed on the same grass, which leads to overgrazing of that plant and reduction in the health of the cow. So the bottom 50% doesn't add to the health of the cow, plus the ecosystem also stop functioning because the green grass will be removed, so photosynthesis will stop. So that is another disadvantage. So overgrazing is disadvantage to us for managing the grasslands. So we have to be very careful that they don't overgraze. So newer land should be available to them continuously. The best part of grass preferred by human microbes is from belly height to knee height. So ideally, this height grass is good, but because we do commercial farming and we are keeping cows at a place, so we are aiming at tall grasses now, which is very difficult for them to eat. So we have to use shaft cutting machine for the grass. So again, a lot of tools, a lot of unnecessary labor as we have to enter into. So these are soft, tender, very easy for them to eat, chew. More than 30 centimeter height for grass. Less than, this is generally we see grazing cows. All of us have seen grazing means this is what grazing for us. There is hardly anything to it. They are just gazing. They don't know why we have put them there, but they are there. So this is damaging the soil actually. And it is very difficult for them to even eat. What can they eat? Hardly anything there. So if livestock are continually allowed to restrict the grass growth. So what we are doing, we are restricting the growth of the grass because they are every day going on the same land, same patch and grazing it. So if livestock are continually allowed to restrict grass growth, that is photosynthesis for us, then carbon level in the soil fall because there is no carbon getting deposited now through the process of photosynthesis. Soil with low carbon level produce less grass, so the productivity of the grass goes down. And then soil with higher level is also of a lower quality. Quality of the grass also goes down. This is a picture of preferential grazing, where nobody is there who's taking care of them. So they will just move. So there is no animal impact. And then they will eat what they want to eat. But generally, when they are in a herd, they damage what they don't want to eat with their hoof. But in this situation, it is not happening. So it is very, very important to have that herd impact, keeping them together. This is the, count the bites. Here you can see how she grazes. Oh.
Came into this paddock. Look at what they're taking. They're only taking that very tip of that grass. See that cow?
Some of the audio is not
She's
but
not
still
even
it's
lowering
okay.
her head down in the grass. She's only taking about the top 3 or 4 inches. And so we're leaving a huge solar collector. I mean, y'all notice something about that cow? You see any flies on her? Look at her a little closer. There's no flies on that cow. I mean, we are in a fly.
No fly on the cows. This is what is
lousy on other people's cattle, but these slick-hided South Poles, you just don't see any flies on. You know, flies don't like oily surfaces, but look at the grass that cow's chowing down. Just as fast as her tongue can go out and grab that grass. And that is Kentucky 31. There are some other grasses in here with it. I'm really happy about seeing one. It's called prairie drop seed. I start to see some of that coming in the fall, and by God, these cattle like that. Got a little fall panicking. There's some orchard grass in here. You know, the cows are putting on really good condition just taking that tip. Look at that. I mean, she's grazing just about as fast as her mouth will move. That's a grazing machine. So this would be a 2017 heifer. So she's a year old. And you know, everybody talks about, oh, take your yearling heifers and put them on grain and flush them.
Just a year old. So they are continuously busy grazing. And this is how they are designed also.
Paddock. Look at what they're taking.
This is from our farm, one of ISKCON project. So there we were growing like a kind of a grass, which is called elephant grass. They also call it CO3, CO4, CO5 also now. It grows tall, but then after we understood this, we started grazing. So it was growing well, yes. Shaft cutter abuse for cows. Absence of upper incisor is not a defect in the creation. So we are just trying to replace that incisors, you know, by a shaft cutter. But when she grazes, she can do it on her own. Rumination and cud chewing. The process of swallowing, unswallowing, rechewing, and reswallowing is called rumination, or more commonly chewing the cud. This enables cows to chew grass more completely, which improves digestion. This grinds up the cell walls to release and expose the contents of cells, sugars, to microbial fermentation. A lot of mixing and churning happens during this part of digestion. This is just defining that. What grasslands need? Massive stomach. So all these herbivores, they specifically cows, they have a massive stomach. Without animal digestion, there is no real soil. And without soil, there is no future. This we are understanding from previous days that soil is the foundation for good health, then plants, then animals, and then human health. So it's very, very important to have herbivores on the grasslands. This is from a human, and you can see there are grains which are not broken even. They just come out in the dung. This is photo of the stomach. Feeding the human microbes. If the cow eats feed that a human bacteria utilize, the population will grow. The population of the bacteria will grow. As the population grows, the cow can digest more of the food she eats. It helps in digestion. On the other hand, if the cow doesn't eat what her human bacteria utilizes, the microorganisms die. This is why cattle raisers say that they feed human bugs, not the animal. So it is very important to feed cows what is good for them to digest. And the digestibility, if we feed grass, then the microbes grow in number. Otherwise, they reduces in number, they die. This is some numbers how the population, like we checked in the spoon of soil, similarly in the biodiverse fodder should be the goal. So generally, when we in our feeding system, we don't have diversity. We can feed few kind of grasses with the change of season, but otherwise there is no diversity available to them. These are other, that was one part. This is reticulum, ovum. None of the part can digest the grains. Grains remains as it is. So today we see we also feed a lot of dry matter to the cows in terms of dry grass. So what is her requirement in terms of that? Dry matter requirement of cows when cows are fed in stalls. Dry matter is the nutrient content available once water is removed from any food, and it is inclusive of carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. So in general, a green grass when dried becomes 20%. That is the ratio in general. 80% is water. So cow requires, this is her daily requirement, 2 to 3% of its body weight, dry matter. So if the cow is 400 kg, she needs 8 to 12 kg dry matter per day. That is her food requirement. Green grass has approximately 20% dry matter, as we discussed already. 400 kg cows therefore needs 40 to 60 kg of grass tips, which means upper half of the grass, daily if they are to be maintained only on fodder. So if we are feeding them, this is what we need, 40 to 60 kg of grass tips. So 40 to 60 kg grass tips will come from 80 to 120 kg of whole grass, because we generally cut the whole grass from the field. So for their health, up 50% is best. The upper 1/3 of the crop residue is recommended for the better health of cows. So to get 8 to 12 kg dry matter, we may have to feed approximately 24 to 30 kg of diverse crop residues. Supplements may have to be given if the dry matter met from fodder is of poor nutritive status. Today we see even supplements are given to the cows because what doesn't have required nutrition value. Analysis of feed and fodder. This is just, you can read this, what different kind of things we are feeding and which category they fall in. It's just for information. Water will be taken even deeper to make the rainfall more effective. So this is very important. So when the cow is grazing and she grazes top 50% in the green, if you can 20, 30, 40, 50, that the root growth doesn't stop. So there is no damage to the root growth if the grass is consumed 50%. But if the cows are grazing more, 60, then the root is damaged 50% just by increasing 10%. And if she grazes fully, right now she is not grazing, but we are cutting it. So if we are cutting all 90%, the entire root growth is stopped. So this is the loss we are facing because of removing the cows from the fields. Because then we are cutting with our machineries, but with the machinery we are removing the entire grass because we want to harvest maximum for the cows. But the result is the root growth stops. So poor, good, and excellent. So if you see, if maximum grass is removed, the root is already disappearing. But when you doesn't cut the entire grass, the root keeps going to the deeper level, and so the water shall also go to the deeper level. This is how it works. This is what we see in the trees. We don't uproot the tree, so the root keeps going down. So now we don't need water to survive a tree. Similarly, if this happens for a couple of years, at least 2, 3, 4 years, the way the tree becomes self-sustaining, then the grasslands will also become self-sustaining. Then we won't need water for the grasses also. From that experience of trees, at least we can read it like that. Growth of both tops and roots is significantly impaired if more than 50% of leaf is removed in a single grazing event. So in the grazing, we have to ensure that the cow should not graze more than 50% and then should give them another plot. So then the root growth is not damaged in that, as we can see in this. This is also explaining the same thing, what happens after a grass plant is grazed. To be safe, we assume that the grazing has been severe because some plants are always grazed severely, and thus we focus on plant growth rate. So this is same thing explained if the root is damaged. See on the second picture, everything is removed from the top. So gradually the root will die. But when you don't remove, then grass will grow faster. I think it talks about the number of days also in these, but too small for me to read. But in general, we are understanding this principle that how grazing helps the ecosystem, because the cows by the grazing process doesn't damage the root. So our work is to orchestrate and make them moving. This is what a cow would do. He keeps them moving to a newer plot where they get fresh grasses. This is Laws of Grazing by Andre Versin. He's describing 4 laws. First law, before a sword sheared with the animal's teeth can achieve its maximum productivity, sufficient interval must have elapsed between 2 successive shearings to allow the grass to regrow. So this is very important. Yesterday we spoke The regrowth of the grass has to be allowed, the interval has to be given. So for example, the cows have entered a plot today, have grazed 50% and moved to the next plot, So till the time now this 50% grazed plot again reaches to 100%, we cannot bring the cows back to that land. This is the very important principle to follow. Because what we see today is they are going same day on the same plot, grazing on the same grass, and so the grass doesn't get opportunity to regrow, and the roots are getting damaged in that process. So it cannot grow on its own. The total occupation period on one paddock should be sufficiently short for a grass shear on the first day, beginning of occupation, not to be cut again by the teeth of these animals before they leave the paddock. So same point, that the paddock has to be keep changing. Third, the animals with the greatest nutritional requirement must be helped to harvest the greatest quantity of grass of the best possible quality. So ideally, who requires more nutrition can be the milk-giving cows, the calves. So they should be front, and then we can have the animals which are not doing other activities. Main thing is giving milk. That only drains their more energy. So those cows should be given more preference. They should be allowed to enter first, and then the other cows. Fourth law: if a cow is to give regular milk yields, she must not stay any longer than 3 days on the same paddock. Yields will be at their maximum if the cow stays on one paddock for only 1 day. So she's raising 1/3 on first day, another 1/3 on second day, and another 1/3 on third. So the milk productivity will go down gradually because the nutrition in the grass is reducing. The lower the grass she's consuming, the lower is the nutrition. Best is to give them the tip of the grass. When does overgrazing occur? So when the plant is exposed to animal for too many days and they are allowed to regraze it as it tries to grow. That is overgrazing. We already understood that. When animals move away but return soon and graze the plant again while it is still using stored energy to reform leaf. And lastly, when animal moves in immediately following dormancy when it rains. This is very common. As soon as the rain comes, the grass starts growing and everybody just releases the cattle on the field. So we are not allowing the grass to fully grow. So we are losing on the production, as simple as that. When the plant is growing new leaf from stored energy. So stocking rate today. We were discussing yesterday that carrying capacity of the land has to be calculated before we invite the cows on the land. So what is stocking rate? The long-term carrying capacity of the land or the total number of cows that can be reared in your entire farm sustainably without purchased resources. So we don't want to purchase from outside, without purchased resources, and at the same time feeding all other beings in the farm. It means that the 4 ecosystems are followed. So it is dependent on effectiveness of the 4 ecosystem services, number 1. And number 2, recovery period of grass, that is in how many days once the grass is grazed, it will regrow to the same stage. So that will vary from land to land today because the soils are degraded. So we can't standardize that the cow has gone to graze today, in how many days it will grow, because we don't know. We have no experience of that. So that we have to start learning when we start the process. That first thing will ensure that the ecosystems are functioning. And then when the cow grazes the grown grass, after she has grazed 50%, we cannot allow them to come back there. And then we have to understand by observing that how many days it takes for the grass to regrow to the full height again. On the basis of that, we can decide the stocking rate. We will take an example to understand this. Yeah. So deciding the stocking rate based on the recovery period of grass, for example, 10 acres of land we have. And we are assuming that in 90 days, grass is regrowing. So in general, a cow needs around 75 square meter a full grown cow of 400 kg. That much she can eat in one day, 75 square meter. So because the regrowing period is 90 days, so we need 90 plots for her to be surviving just on grazing. Because after she finishes the 90th plot, she will come on the plot number 1 where she started, and there the grass will be grown already. This is what the calculation is. So 90 plots into 75 makes 6750 square meter, which is around 1.7 acre per cow. So if the regrowth period is 90 days, we require 1.7 acre for one cow to survive without purchased inputs. She is totally on grazing. We are not feeding her. We just keep changing her plot every day, and till the time she comes back to the original plot, again the grass is fully grown. So regrowth period assumed here is 90 days. Now we move on the right. We are assuming the regrowth period is 365 days. That the soil is too poor and the grass is not growing, despite the cow is not sent there again. So in that case, after the grass is fully grown, we start moving the cows. So we need 365 plots now for her to graze of 75 square meter, meaning 27,000 square meter, which is almost 7 acre per cow. So if the soil is too bad and nothing is growing on its own, then it might take 7 acre per cow to survive in the system. We are discussing that ecosystems are functioning and we don't want to purchase grass from outside. We don't want any purchase input if that is our decision. Otherwise, we have to purchase input. We have to purchase grass, or we have to do irrigation. All this artificial system has to be brought into our farm. So that is a subject of discussion. But we are discussing a system where ecosystems are functioning and we are not using any other tools and technology but grazing the cows. So 90 days and 365 days are the two periods. It can be anything in between this. It can be 30 days. So as the ecosystem services improves, the stocking rate also increases. So for now, we feel 5-6 cows for 10 acres. But when the ecosystem are out, the soil fertility improves, the productivity of grass increases, the nutrient value of the grass increases, and so the carrying capacity of the soil or the landscape also increases. Today, the carrying capacity is continuously decreasing. So the quality of milk available has gone down. The quality of the breed is going down. The productivity is going down. With the current system, what we are following today, whatever we have seen, this system has led to a situation where we see degraded lands. So we are discussing a system which can reverse the cycle. This is not, we have not experienced this, not many people are doing this, but whoever has started this, as we are going to visit this farm in March, we will see that how the stocking rate has improved for them, how it remains green even in the drier season without any irrigation system. This is skipping. Unintended consequence of high stocking rate. So now this we know that everywhere stocking rate is high. In general, most of the project, because if you don't calculate the growth period of the grass and the ecosystem functionality, then we will just guess a number and bring the cows on the land. And if the stocking rate is not correct, then what are the unintended consequences? Number one, difficult to give sufficient recovery period for grass, and has grass productivity is affected as anything else. So because you don't have enough plots to move the cows, then you need 90, but say you have only 30 plots. So you have to bring the cows back on the same plot. So it will result into overgrazing because it is not fully grown, but the cow has to eat that because there is nothing else to eat. As a result, the efficiency, liquid carbon pathway of this gets affected. So because the soil is becoming uncovered, the carbon deposited gets diluted from the soil bed. Dependence on external inputs. So we have to purchase grass, which shall affect the other farms economically, because then we are importing their fertility to our soil. Say, for example, our cows on our land are eating grass grown by some other farmer. So the fertility of that soil is coming to this land. That soil will be degraded. We just have to understand that. This is for understanding. It is a non-contextual decision that it shall affect the future performance of the landscape. So, because this will not keep our landscape regenerating, it is a non-contextual decision. Manure recycling gets affected. As a result, insect pressure on the animals shall increase. So when they are overstocked, there's a lot of dung, so there are a lot of insects, on cows and all different disturbing the cows. But the video which we saw of that, there were no insects on the cow. She was free. She did not need to move her tail so frequently. They generally move the tail to remove the bugs. There are no bugs, but they don't need to do that. So these are all unintended consequences. We will see a video from the we are discussing, which we are going to visit next month, how they are arranging things.
Come.
So the pathway which you see here, the entire land was like this 7 years back. Just by moving the cows, what we are seeing is this.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
They are all bulls.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
I
Hare.
know exactly where to go.
So that is naturally in their blood. This is what I have to do. This
Prabhu,
running we want.
Muthu Prabhu.
Running we want. Behavior we want. Because they will do it only once in a year.
Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
That land needs that.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Jaipur.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
If there is
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
not raining anymore,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Don't think there was something here. There was
Hare
nothing
Rama,
here.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Krishna.
On their own. They might have.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Delhi bolu Delhi.
Hare Rama.
See, the only one with this horn is the one which is
There is
castrated.
they have only one castrated. After they understood, they stop castrating. This is what is it. Trees on equal nice grass.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
The entire land ecosystem is functioning. But photosynthesis is there, trees are there to cover, bigger canopies are there,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
cows are moving.
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
Who is removing dung here? That is the question.
Who is removing dung here?
No need to remove dung.
Just to, by seeing them eating.
Prabhu, that bull also, Prabhu.
Our work is over. And they will do their work. Come.
This is from Garuda Puran. Just read the first word, daily cutting of grass. There are many things like this, but daily cutting of grass, and then the last, may destroy the opulence even of God Keshava himself. So, in other words, this feeding, cutting and feeding in the confined area is not the recommended system. It will be never sustainable. Barriers in and to pastures angers the cows. The milk from such cows is linked to poison. It's from Atharva Veda. Okay. So we finish the first part. We can take questions. Yeah.
figure out when they want to leave the pasture. But I thought you said that they want to pasture.
Yeah. So, as I understand from this is, every house used to have a smaller forest near their houses, like orchards, where we have our own fruit trees, our vegetable gardens. So that place is for resting, and during the day they go for deeper forest, like Upavan, Tapovan, Mahavan. There are 3-4 categories of forest, and where they go for grazing. And there is so grazing land and cropland. So in the night we can bring them near the cropland where we need to fertilize. For example, we are going to grow our food also. It also needs some dung and urine. So at night, generally they rest 4, 5 hours, 6 hours. So they can be sitting on that area, putting all the dung and urine, fertilize, and then go for walking. I mean, go for grazing next day, like that. So, but that is not a constructed shade. That is all canopy or in a more natural environment, not the kind of shades we know of today. So that is Goshala. So the Goshala means the landscapes with the trees grown all around. So they can take shelter under the trees. Like if there are fruit trees, they can sit peacefully under the trees, no problem at night, when the rainy season, even the summer. But because we don't have that, because we have removed the trees, so now we have to make sheds because they can't survive in the sun, 45, 48 degrees without the shed. So we started relating, as we were discussing yesterday, there is no real grain, there is no real ghee, there is no real milk, but we name it. Similarly, the real Goshala is living on the land. But there are different arrangement near the house, which is a little different. And far, like in our property, luckily we have a forest nearby. So we can just understand like that. So where we will be living, we will be developing upon our own food. They should be coming there to fertilize our soils, and then in the day grazing on the soil in the forest. So it maintains the fertility of the forest, that is the grassland, and maintains the fertility of the cropland, where we grow, human grows their own food. So it has to be segregated in 2 parts like that. But both are Goshala, but both are open. They don't have the sheds which we think of as a shed. Like today's school, I mean, this setup is called school, but this or rather Gurukul, but this is not Gurukul. Gurukul means which is giving Vedic education. But now everybody relates to education system means what we see today. That has become the new definition. That is education, but that is not the real education. So similarly, we will be segregating the overall land under our service in 2 parts. One totally belonging to the cows for grazing, and other will be for regrowing the crops. So they can't hear questions. So I can mute here and you can unmute on the phone. So better to give this. Better I will give this down. Sorry.
So as per my understanding, it's not just humans need to get trained again, cows also. Because we have made all these consequences by making our decision what we have taken earlier. So it will be training on both the side, like cows have to live on the land without shed under all circumstances, raining, summer and winters. And when it comes to the grass, so it has to be always to the level of belly or the knee. That is the best, I guess, my understanding. And then further, when they keep on moving, we keep on shifting them. That is required on our part. And the most important one is the grazing land, like 1:7, like 1.7 acre for 1 cow, when the quality of land is good. 90-day cycle. And if it is 65, it's going to be 6-7 acres for 1 cow. So how we are going to facilitate this? That is a very prominent question, I guess, for the
Yeah, this is a very, striking question in generally all presentations, because when we see this, that a cow needs 2 to 7 acres just to survive herself, how will we get the land? But as we also discussed that this is because of the current situation of the soil. As the ecosystem functions and the grazing process goes on, the productivity of the soil will increase and the carrying capacity will go up. But today this is a reality, and if this continues, this will go even more. Like there are lands where they require for one cow 300-acre land. They're almost like desert, and such lands are also regenerated by the impact of cows. This we have to check. So the idea is not that generally when we think of a project, we think about number of cows. In our situation, it's a different thing because we already have number of cows, around 400, little less than 400. But when we start a project, first we should check this system of land and then invite the cows. That is the process. So our work is certainly to increase cow protection to all the cows, but at least to the cows whom we are serving, we should be following this. So, say for example, if I start a project, I have 5-acre land. I can invite 1 cow to start with, 2 cows to start with, and observe this. And when the process improves, but the 2 cows whom I am serving should be fully happy. That is the goal. To keep the cows happy. It's not about number of cows happy, but whatever we assign to our service area, we should ensure that. But because now the keeping of cows has become more on a bigger organizational structure, individual level, it has disappeared now. Like as we heard from Bhagavatam, every householder was keeping cows, but now that is no more. So it is like more of a commercial or a factory setup now, where we have a lot of cows together, but it is unnatural also. This setup is also unnatural. And like the villages used to have, everybody used to have their cows, and all the cows goes together to graze on the grazing land. Village has to have grazing land, and then all the cows goes together for grazing. That impact is there. And then when you have harvested your crop, then the villagers will decide, okay, now today the cows will go to Tirtheshwari's plot. Prabhu has harvested, then the villagers, okay, today all cows should go to his land. So basically cows are community asset. They has to be rotated as a decision of the entire community and where the soil needs it more. But today, because there is a lot of rules and regulations of ownership of land, so it looks a little striking and difficult. But this is a reality. It was a very correct thing that how to get much of land. So we have this appeal of getting more land donation because we already have a set number of cows. We can't stop serving them. Whatever we have to continue the service, protecting them, serving them. But the real protection will be when we allow them the grazing land. Then they can be really happy. Just feeding is not making them happy. Yes. Everything.
And keeping up of the water at the ground level.
Yes. 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 So very important point she brought up, that it is not only about that we are focusing only one aspect of grazing the cows, but it will help the entire ecosystem be more functional and more efficient. So that is why it is so very important to graze the cows, because without doing that, everything has just stopped and we are struggling more and more. So to reverse the entire cycle, we have to connect the cows to the land. That is what is required. Any more? So we can take a break for 10 minutes.
I had a question that didn't come.
No, so we have to have this setup. The question is, the land always. So that is why we need a coward. That the role of a coward person to ensure that they don't go to an area where they are not supposed to go. This is what we see in Krishna's pastime. The coward boys and Krishna were just doing this, ensuring that the cows are just on the plot where they are supposed to be. So he was rotating them between the 12 forests. So there were 12 forests around Braj, and cows were going to different forests every day and spending their time grazing, such like that. So because it is not fully developed system now, we have to use some tools ensuring that the ecosystems are followed. That should be our goal now, not breaking the ecosystem processes. We will be using tools to support the ecosystem processes. Only that change is required. Initially, we would need a lot of help. Sorry.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, they want to ask. Okay, I thought they have time. Yes. Prabhupada Acharya Prabhu, please.
Ha. Are you hearing me?
Yes, very clear.
Okay. So my question is, it sounds based on what this grazing method, that is there any scope for co-production of grains or annuals? Or, I mean, if you have cows going and they're grazing the tips and then you're waiting, let's say 90 days for it to regrow, these are perennial grasses. Or like wheatgrass, can they graze wheatgrass to a certain level and can you still produce wheat? Or do you have to have a completely segregated pasturing land and agricultural land? What's the coexisting paradigm for that?
So it's a decision we take as a community how we want to go about. But in general, as you said, like wheat grass. So after the wheat is harvested, today what we see is even the grass is harvested. And then we make pile of grasses and then they are shifted to a place where the cows are living. But ideally, after the harvesting of the grains, we should invite the cows to that land. They should eat it there, as we were discussing yesterday in the nutrient cycle, that we cannot export the fertility out from there. So when they come there, they can eat the grass, and in that process, they put dung, they put urine. So the mineral cycle is completed, and before that, you throw your seeds for the next crop. So before you invite the cow, you throw the seeds, and they come in, they eat the grass which is growing, which is the leftover after harvesting the wheat, and the plot is ready for the next
Straw,
crop.
basically. I mean, the
Straw,
plant's
yes, straw.
dead, more or less, at that point.
Yes,
Straw.
straw. But we don't need to uproot it. The paradigm of uprooting what is there, the straws, is false. That is not required. And there are cases where we have seen where this uprooting is not happening. In the next season of wheat, you don't have to plant even the seeds. Because when you are harvesting, seeds already fall. Some seeds will fall on the ground and they will grow in the next season. But because
I think the uprooting,
Sorry?
uprooting is mostly the uprooting process, plowing and all that, is because they're going to put in a different crop. They're going to put in rice or they're going to put in something else. So you're saying if they just leave the wheat there, it'll grow again.
Still, wheat will grow, and if you want rice in the next season, then before bringing the cows, you should throw the seeds of rice, and then rice will grow. You don't have to remove anything for that. This understanding that you have to clean everything and then put something you want to grow is not required actually. That is not required. It is working very well. You don't have to do that. Just by moving the cows, you get the fertility back. The problem is we are removing the fertility, so we have to do all this process. That we have to understand. What we have seen today is everywhere after harvesting the grains, we also harvest the grass. So the soil has given so much, but nothing going back to her. The cycle is interrupted. So we have to do all this exercise of tilling, then manuring, fertilizers, all the whole thing we have to do because of that wrong practice. So once we correct this, and we have seen, we have done already, it's not that I have not experienced, we have done on ISKCON projects where The wheat harvested this season has grown also in the next season. Because the seeds fall, you can't collect everything. This is how it works. When you're harvesting, something will by nature fall down and it will germinate in the next year. So today even the seeding rate is wrong because it is all supporting the industrial effort. So they have decided that you have to put this many seeds, but hardly 10% of the seeds are required to grow that much production. But they will ensure you that you put more seeds, because when you put even, like they are advising to put 4 seeds of wheat in one place, but only one can grow. Not all 4, even if all 4 will grow, three will be dying because they will not get enough space to grow. But this is how we are educated. So we just follow that. Even if you put 1, it will grow. There is no need of putting, but this is how the whole training has happened and this is how everybody is following it. And now many farmers store their own seeds. They don't purchase every year. So the same wheat can grow, but still they will come up, okay, if you will use this wheat, it will give better production. So then you will think, okay, the problem is with the seed. So you will go to newer seeds. This is how they keep investing in purchase inputs and become unprofitable. So more the purchase inputs, the farming will be more unprofitable. So we with the ecosystem, what we are learning is we have to reduce our dependency on the purchase inputs. And if at all we are taking help of any tools, it has to assist the functionality of the ecosystem process. That is an important thing we should consider. Ekatma Govinda Prabhu, yes. You can unmute and speak, Prabhu.
Can you hear, Prabhu?
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you.
My pranam to you, Prabhu. Prabhu, you mentioned some paragraphs only. Can you explain about some trees for the cows, growing trees? Can we feed some trees leaves like Claricidia, like this?
Well, Claricidia is one of the leaves of these trees cows are eating. So there are many trees like this, but I think that's a big subject in itself, what trees we should grow. But ideally, we follow a system where we should grow local trees. So wherever you are, we should do a study of that area and try to grow those seeds, those trees, because local trees goes well with the local cows.
Yes.
So similarly, local grass goes well with the local cows. But today, the whole scenario is we want local cows, but the feed is all imported. The grass seeds are imported. They are not local to our soil. But every soil has local seeds and for the local grass. So once we allow that environment to come, the cows moving on the land, the local grass will start growing more and more. We don't have to bring many seeds for that. The grasslands manifest on their own when the cows keep moving on the soil. When there is more soil life, the more kind seeds are already there. For local grass, we don't have to purchase many seeds. And I think we all have experience. Whenever the rain comes, a lot of grass is anyhow growing, and we don't put any seeds for that. So there is a lot of grass growing just without planting the seeds also. Yes. Anything else, Prabhu? Ashok Sharma. Ashok Sharma.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thanks for
Hare
this
Krishna.
wonderful session, Prabhuji, and sharing this knowledge. I just want to ask, as for one cow, we have to cover, require so much land, and so this land will be covered through grass throughout the year. So are there any benefits, which are available to industry in terms of carbon credits?
Yes. Because with the process of photosynthesis, continuously the plants are pumping in carbon. This is what we saw in the function of plants. So the overall benefit goes to the environment. The climatic change, what we are complaining today, will be coming in control. But as we understand, it won't happen with start of a project. But when we do follow up the process correctly, then many farmers will be inspired to do this. And as more farmers keep joining this process of farming, then it will change the macroclimate. But currently, because the wrong practices are followed by most of the farmers, the macroclimate is impacted, and the carbon dioxide, as they call, is increasing because the carbon is released from the soil and getting accumulated in the environment, forming carbon dioxide. So once this process starts, these grasslands increases, then the carbon will be sequestered in the soil and it will reverse the situation. Yes.
So are we, I mean, any organization within the ISKCON or community has claimed for this? I mean, is someone claiming and they are getting benefit for this?
I don't know any. I don't know any myself.
But that is possible.
Yes, why not? It's going to happen.
Thank you, Professor.
We take break. So we take a 10 minutes break. It's 11:25. We wait till 11:35, and then we resume the second session. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.